Welcome to The Explainer. Listen, today we are tearing down the walls and deconstructing the exact biological and psychological mechanics behind fear, procrastination, and absolutely relentless drive. We're not just looking at the anatomy of success as some abstract, magical concept today. No, we are looking at it as a rigid structure built brick by brick. Get ready, because we're going to deeply analyze the very specific frameworks that allow high achievers to push past paralyzing fear, outlast their darkest days, and build something truly monumental.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 1. The myth of tomorrow, 2. The psychology of risk, 3. Arnold and the no plan B, 4. Outlasting giants, and finally, 5. The power of legacy names. Let's get right into it.
All right, Section 1, the myth of tomorrow and recognizing the ticking clock.
I want to start with the sheer massive weight of this number, 150,000. That is the exact number of human beings who pass away every single day. Tomorrow isn't promised to a single one of them. And you know what? It's certainly not promised to you. Yet as humans, we possess this wild, almost delusional psychological defense mechanism where we just constantly delay our ambitions to this imagined tomorrow. We tell ourselves, oh, I have an infinite reservoir of time. I'll start that business later, I'll write the book next year, I'll get in shape when things slow down. The psychology of relentless drive has to start by fundamentally shattering this illusion of safety. Procrastination isn't just you being lazy or having poor time management, it is a fatal miscalculation of your own mortality. If you are sitting around watching other people progress, just assuming you have plenty of time to catch up later, you are totally ignoring the stark mathematical reality of human existence.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this. If you aren't aggressively going after your full potential today, you are actively choosing to die incomplete. You are literally choosing to die as a fraction of the person you were created to be. The highest achievers on the planet, they operate with this visceral, almost terrifying mindset that today is literally all there is. They are absolutely obsessed with meeting the greatest version of themselves. They understand that the ordinary comforts we all crave, binging a TV show, relaxing on the couch, taking the path of least resistance, those are actually the mortal enemies of greatness. They know that the reward for taking it easy today is just temporary comfort, but it inevitably leads to a lifetime of quiet, heavy regret.
Moving right along to Section 2, the psychology of risk, the brain versus the soul.
Have you ever stood at the precipice of a massive, life-changing decision? A severe biological conflict literally erupts inside you. Taking meaningful action requires risk, and biologically speaking, our bodies are hardwired to avoid risk at all costs. From an evolutionary standpoint, your amygdala is perfectly designed to keep you safe in the cave, away from predators. So when you stand at the edge of a huge decision, like, say, quitting a stable job to start a company, your brain sounds the exact same alarm bells it would if a tiger were actively chasing you. It screams at you to step back from the edge so you don't fall. It reminds you of every time you've ever failed. But your soul demands the leap. It desires to fly. It actually knows that a miserable life of conformity is the real danger. High achievers deeply understand this paradox. They navigate that tense space between the brain's demand for safety and the soul's demand for growth. And when it matters most, they listen to the soul and they leap.
You have to fundamentally realize something. Absolutely everything in this world is risky. Think about it. Getting married? Risky. Having kids? Enormous risk. Investing your money in the market is risky. Simply driving your car to work is a huge risk. And ultimately, the absolute cold truth is that you are not going to get out of this life alive anyway. That is the ultimate unavoidable risk we all face. So honestly, your greatest fear shouldn't be falling. You know how to heal. You know how to get back up after a fall. Your greatest fear absolutely must be reaching the end of your life, having never flown. The true tragedy is dying before the world ever gets to see who you really are, or before anyone gets to feel your unique, uninhibited contribution. Okay, Section 3, Arnold and the no plan B, and the real danger of having a safety net.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is literally the ultimate case study in the psychology of burning the boats. He profoundly understood that having a carefully reasoned backup plan fundamentally neuters your commitment to your primary dream. Why? Because when things get excruciatingly difficult, and trust me, they always will, human nature will inevitably reach for that safety net. If you are over-leveraging a decision by just dipping a toe in, thinking, well, I'll try this out, and if it fails, I'll just fall back on my accounting degree, you've already lost. When you have a plan B, you are dividing your energy, you're dividing your focus, and most importantly, you're dividing your desperation. To achieve something truly monumental, you have to lock yourself into a one-way ticket with no guaranteed return.
You have to completely eliminate the escape route so that succeeding becomes as vital to you as taking your next breath.
Just look at this relentless, almost unreasonable progression. Arnold makes a full 100% commitment to be a bodybuilding champion in 1970, absolutely dominating a sport completely foreign to his upbringing. Then he sets his sights on America and Hollywood, determined to be a leading man by 1980. Now, think about the specific, brutal rejections he faced. Studio executives, top agents, managers, they all constantly told him he had an overly thick Austrian accent, an unpronounceable last name, and a freakishly muscular physique that wouldn't even fit on a movie screen. They literally told him to just be a bouncer or maybe a minor villain. But because he had zero plan B, he just kept pushing right through those specific barriers. He hired dialogue coaches, worked relentlessly on his craft, and broke literally every rule in Hollywood to become the biggest star in the world. And then, defying all logic yet again, he successfully ran for governor in 2003. Incredible.
But what's really fascinating about this whole trajectory is how society exclusively remembers the glorified winner. We see the multimillionaire movie star or the governor of California giving a confident speech. What we completely gloss over is the reality of the darkroom. The darkroom is that unglamorous, fiercely private, lonely space where you put in the grueling work that absolutely nobody sees. Between 1970 and 1975, Arnold was spending 5 grueling hours a day in the gym, taking exhaustive acting classes at night, working constantly on accent removal, and just getting knocked down repeatedly by casting directors. High achievers live in that darkroom. They fully embrace the fact that you're only rewarded in public for what you relentlessly, painfully practice in private.
Which brings us to Section 4, Outlasting Giants. Let's talk about how Buster Douglas defeated Mike Tyson.
This is such a profound metaphor for endurance. Let's set the stage. In 1990, Mike Tyson wasn't just a boxer. The man was an absolute, terrifying force of nature. Here's a crazy fact. Leading up to this fight, Tyson was frequently knocking out elite heavyweight opponents in just 90 seconds flat. 90 seconds. People were absolutely terrified to even step into the ring with him. But Buster Douglas realized something crucial. To win, he didn't necessarily need to swing harder or be stronger than Tyson. Step 1 was simply surviving 5 rounds, a feat that seemed mathematically impossible to the entire world at the time. Why? Because Tyson's hidden weakness was his lack of deep water endurance. Step 2 was just to let Tyson's juice run out. And step 3, outlast the storm. Sometimes in life, when you are facing a massive, terrifying dragon, you do not need a brilliant, highly complex strategy to win. You really just need to learn the raw, gritty secret of surviving the next couple of rounds.
Now, surviving those grueling rounds requires a deeply entrenched psychology, far removed from what we see in the movies. In Hollywood, the lonely chapter of training and endurance is compressed into this highly motivating 90-second Rocky montage with an incredible pumping soundtrack. But reality operates on a very different timeline. In the real world, that lonely chapter lasts 5 grueling years. It is waking up on day 500 at 4 a.m. when your muscles ache, your bank account is totally empty, the naysayers are screaming at you, and guess what? There is absolutely no music playing. It's putting in the blood, sweat, and tears behind closed doors when not a single person in the world is cheering for you.
So how exactly did Buster Douglas survive that lonely chapter, take Tyson's absolute best shots, and actually get back up after being knocked down? When reporters asked him how he did the impossible, his answer was chilling. He simply said, "Because I promised my mama before she died I was going to beat him." Douglas's ultimate advantage was this intrinsic emotional anchor. He proved once and for all that emotional leverage will invariably conquer raw physical dominance. When you connect your grueling day-to-day work to a deeply personal why, an intrinsic promise, rather than just some extrinsic desire for fame or money, you tap into a limitless well of stamina that raw talent simply cannot match.
And that leads us to our final section, Section 5, the power of legacy names and what it means to think kingdom.
Let's elevate this entire conversation from just personal, individual success to massive generational impact. To build a true legacy, you have to completely shift your mindset away from victimhood. You have to take profound, absolute personal ownership. Losers, they let excuses sit shotgun in the passenger seat of their lives. They define themselves by the hand they were dealt, or the state of the economy, or a difficult upbringing. But winners open the car door, violently kick the excuses out, and define themselves entirely by what they make happen. They don't sit around waiting for permission from society. They emerge straight out of obscurity, they do the work, and they take the throne. Look at this list. Armani, Gucci, Porsche, Harley-Davidson, Marriott, Walgreens, Rolls-Royce, Wells Fargo, Procter & Gamble.
When we hear these words today, we view them as monolithic, untouchable entities. They are these monumental, global corporations that completely dominate our modern world. We look at them as permanent institutions that have just simply always existed, woven right into the very fabric of our economy and our culture. But here is the absolute craziest core truth. These massive empires are literally just last names. Charles Rolls and Henry Royce, Henry Wells and William Fargo, Guccio Gucci, Ferdinand Porsche. These were ordinary human beings who stood in their own dark rooms. They were individuals facing the exact same biological fears, the exact same ticking clocks, and the same lonely chapters that we've been discussing today. But they decided to push through obscurity. They absolutely refused to be forgotten. They transitioned from unknown, ordinary people into immortalized brands because they fully committed to their vision without a safety net. They achieved this staggering level of immortality because they adopted a kingdom mindset. And this requires a radical psychological shift. It means moving away from this selfish, short-sighted pursuit of just buying a nice car or getting a comfortable job, and instead actively working to break generational curses. It is the absolute unshakable resolve that you will not be the weakest link in your family's dynasty. When your motivation shifts from me right now to my descendants 100 years from now, you permanently alter the way you approach risk and fear today. You unlock a staggering level of power, endurance, and vision that basic everyday selfishness could never, ever provide.
So, I want to leave you with this. If ordinary human beings can overcome their amygdala's desperate need for safety, if they can outlast absolute giants by finding a deep emotional anchor, and if they can build sprawling global empires out of their simple last names, why not you? You have the exact same neurological hardware, the same stamina, and the same vitality. You are standing right now at the precipice of the greatest decision of your life. Why can't you be the disruptor? Why can't you be the trailblazer, the one who changes the entire trajectory of your bloodline forever? The hour is right now. The clock is ticking. What are you going to do with it?